Hello and welcome. I am Light, and this is my podcast. Hello, guys. Today I have a very special guest.
Hello.
Her name
Welcome.
is Madison,
Light,
and she is my daughter. Hello, Madison.
Hey.
Thank you for coming today.
No problem.
We've been promoting you for a very long time because you're here to celebrate the 31 days of Halloween with us.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's start off with the business end of this, okay?
Okay.
So we're celebrating 31 days of Halloween, which means that I have a video going up every single day in the month of October. I have been working very hard, and Rob also has a couple of videos coming up. So I really appreciate all of his help. And when moderator Maya gets in here, she's going to go ahead and give Madison, are you holding your phone?
Yes. Let me set it down.
Okay.
Okay. Does that sound better?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's going to go ahead and give the links to Rob's group on Facebook and my group on Facebook. His is called Paranormal and Supernatural World. Mine is strangely called Exit Light.
Okay.
Let's see. Also, if you guys are interested, I have a Teespring store for merchandise. When moderator Mara gets here, she will be able to put the merchandise up. And as soon as if Victor Lyons comes in tonight, I'm going to thank him because Victor Okay, Jory, can you hear me? Nope. Everybody says they can't hear us. Okay. Is that better, you guys? Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. So, do you know what our subject is today, Madison, Lynn?
Yes. Lesser known serial killers.
But not lesser horrific.
Oh, no. Absolutely not.
So, if you would like, I want to say a couple more things.
Okay.
Jory and Diabolical Witness, Brian, met up last Friday. They had a live ghost hunt, and if you were on the podcast, you heard them call in, and we even got to hear the EVP they caught. So, which says, I'm going to kill you.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah, I'm serious right now.
Oh.
So, with any luck at all, we'll be able to get that video up during the 31 days of Halloween, and I'll also be able to interview Jory and Brian about their experiences. If you are new and you like creepy or scary or suspenseful stories, mine are written by me. You will not find them anywhere else. All the other creepypasta channels who narrate stories, they have about 4 or 5 websites that they go to, and they mine their stories from writers who have posted it to that website. I never post my stories to a website, so nobody else can read or narrate my stories. So if you know anybody who's interested in that and wants to hear something new, send them this way. All right. Madison, do you want to start with your lesser-known serial killer?
Sure. So, we are starting off with this man named Albert Fish. Albert Fish. Now, it must have been about a couple months ago, I ended up getting this book about serial killers and their stories and things like that. And I was going through it, and I had realized that a lot of these people I hadn't really ever heard of.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it has your occasional, your famous one, your Ted Bundy, Ed Gein, John Wayne Gacy, things like that. Stories everybody knows. But what really was very interesting to me were the ones that people really didn't know, because I felt like those were more horrific than the ones I had heard before. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I just heard them so much that I was like, this is old. But Albert Fish was the very first man in this story, and instantly I was attracted to this one. Albert, he had responded to an ad in the newspaper from this family who had posted in the ad, and the mother was Delia. Her name was Delia Budd, and she had posted an ad for her son, because they lived in a small basement type apartment, and they wanted their son Edward to get a job so he could help support them. And it was her and her husband, their son Edward, and their daughter. So Albert responded to their ad, and he comes into their home, and he looked very, very wealthy. They said that he had, his 3-piece suit. He was very polished, but they said that the one thing that kind of struck them as odd was that his teeth were, the way the mother described them was that they were animal-like.
Mm-hmm. Can I clear something up real quick?
Yeah.
They put an ad in the newspaper because they wanted their son to have a job. So this guy was coming to hire him?
He was coming to hire him because he wanted him to work on his farm.
Mm-hmm.
They said that he was going to pay him $15 a week, which, back in the old days, that was a lot of money back in 1928. So he's going to pay him $15 a week. They said that they were very impressed with him because he obviously came from wealth, and they thought this was a really good opportunity for their son. So they talked for a little bit, got to know each other. He said that he would come back and pick up their son to start the job. So he comes over, goes to take Edward to his farm, at this point, he doesn't know that there's a daughter. She comes into the room. She's about 10 years old. And he says that he wants to take her to a birthday party for his niece on 137th Street in Columbus Avenue. Could it, he asked the parents, is it okay for me to take Grace to this party? Which kind of is very odd to me that the parents agreed to this, because you just quite literally met this guy, not very long ago. Mm-hmm. And you're just going to let your 10-year-old daughter go with whoever. But, whatever. So the mom had originally said no, but the dad was like, yeah, take her. So,
what year is this?
This is 1928.
Okay.
So little did they know that the street they lived on ended on 105th Street, and there's no such thing as 137th Street.
Oh, no.
So, of course, after the daughter doesn't return, they call the police, and obviously they're looking for her. And so this detective is kind of just really hell-bent on finding this guy. So it goes on to explain that one of the reasons that they ended up finding him was because after he had done the horrific things to this little girl that we'll get to here in a second, he had sent this letter to the family. And this investigator, his name is Will King. He had worked on this case for 6 years. Every day for 6 years. And, every hunch that he had, he followed it. And everything that he just could work on, he worked on. So after the 6 years, he's kind of at just a dead end. He's just not getting anywhere. And he gets a phone call from Delia, the mom. And she said that she had received a letter, and it looked like it was about her daughter, and she didn't open it, and she asked him if he wanted to read it. And so they read this letter, and this ultimately is what got Albert Fish arrested, is because they tracked down where this paper came from and found him. But they have the letter written in the book, which I thought was very interesting. Do you want me to read it? It's kind of explicit, but do you want me to read it?
I'm going to say this ahead of time, okay?
Yeah.
When we talk about a specific kind of assault, we're not going to call it an sexual assault. Okay. Just call it assault. And so understand that 90% of the time when we're talking about that, that's what we mean. Because that will get caught up in the net. And they can actually take me down live while I'm doing a podcast for certain things.
Oh, okay. So censorship is important.
Well, because we're being censored. Yeah.
Okay. So basically,
go ahead and read it.
So six years later, and this, I don't also understand this part either, is why wait? First of all, why send a letter like this in general, but why wait 6 years?
Okay, what happened to the boy, the son?
No, nothing ever happened with the son.
Oh,
nothing. It was he was preying on these people and found out they had a daughter, and he, instead of hiring the son, he kidnapped the daughter.
Oh.
So they send this letter, or they receive this letter, and he, in very gruesome detail, explains exactly what he did to their daughter.
Oh no.
And he has dates and everything. So it starts off, he says, on Sunday, June 3rd, 1928, I called on you at 406 West 15th Street. Grace sat in my lap and kissed me. I made up my mind to eat her.
Oh.
Yeah. And so it goes on. He says, on the pretense of taking her to a party, you said yes, she could go. I took her to an empty house in Westchester I had already picked out. When we got there, I told her to remain outside while she picked wildflowers. I went upstairs and stripped all my clothes off. I knew if I did not, I would get blood on them. When she was ready, I went to the window and called her. Then I hid into a closet until she came into the room. When she saw me, she began to run downstairs, and I grabbed her. She said she would tell her mother. First, I stripped her. I choked her to death. Then I cut her into small pieces so I could take meat to my room, cook it, and eat it.
Oh,
then this is where it gets kind of vulgar. He explains what she tasted like when he ate her. Mm-hmm. Her texture. He tells the family that it took him 9 days to eat her entire body. But then he reassures them at the end of the letter that he did not assault her. And yeah.
Well,
he said I didn't assault her, even though I could have if I wanted to. So she died. No. So she died pure.
Okay, can I say something?
Yeah.
As strange as it would be.
Would that be kind of a reassuring factor to know?
Yes.
And I thought about that too when I read the letter, is, all of these things are obviously racing through your head. You don't even want to think about what happened to your child. And although what she went through was horrific, she didn't have to experience this specific. on top of it.
Right.
So what struck me the most interesting about this particular man is that he, not only did he do these horrific things, when they said that after he killed her, that he had, can I get into details here? Or are we gonna?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I think so.
They said that he had positioned her neck on a 1-gallon paint bucket and cut her head off and bled her out. And then he tried to drink her blood.
He tried?
He tried, but apparently it didn't go down and he vomited it back up.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So apparently, as normal serial killers do, it gives them some sort of excitement. Some specific excitement when they kill people. But like I said, what really struck me as very, very odd about him is obviously not only just the killing of a small child and how he did that, but 6 years later, he went into very, very specific detail on what he did to their daughter.
Well, I think that I'm not a psychologist, but I play one on the internet. I think that was to relive that thrill.
I'm sure it was, but you have to have some kind of just evil in there.
Right.
To drag the family through that again. And not only just make them relive it, but let them know exactly what happened. I'm sure their mind has already gone to every different sort of scenario, but to years and years and years later, after this family has already gone through so much, to tell them that you ate their child and how long it took you to eat her and how you killed her, what goes on there that makes you think, I'm going to put the family through this?
Re-victimizing them, I think.
I wonder if maybe for him, like you said, that was a version of him reliving it.
Yeah.
I have no clue, but
and his name again?
Albert Fish.
Albert Fish. All right, I got a couple things to say. Okay. Rob says to you that you sound American and you don't sound anything like me because he says he thinks I don't sound American. Because
he thinks Dad sounds American.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. He thinks that my regional accent and then so occasionally you throw in my twang that I picked up in Texas makes me sound like somewhere else. So he wants to tell you also that you're doing a very good job and you're a natural.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm sweating bullets over here, but
you don't sound like it.
Well, Jory called me before and he was like, hey, so are you nervous? And I'm like, no, it's just going to be like talking to Mom on the phone. And as soon as Jeremy was like counting down, I was like, oh, crap. I'm nervous.
But I used to get so nervous that I would have like an anxiety attack.
Oh, I know. Hey, just think about it this way. I can't call you in the middle of this podcast.
You guys, you should know this. Every single week, and I'm not kidding, it has never failed. Every single week she calls me during a podcast. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's like, even when I know that you're having a podcast, it just kind of slips my mind. And I'm like, oh, this is something I really need to talk to Mom about. And then my phone will go straight to voicemail, and I'm like, oh.
And you get a message that says...
I get a message, and it's one word, and it just says podcast.
Podcast. I have it in my phone, so I can just go click.
Oh, I didn't even know you made it a shortcut. Oh, that's bad.
I did. I made it a shortcut. So I can just go click podcast. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll say, by the way, don't call me at 6 o'clock because I'm having a podcast, 6:30.
Sure enough.
Yep.
There was only one time though that I called you and you're like, I'm getting ready for my podcast. I'm like, it's important.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So we were a little bit late.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a rough day.
Hey, a reminder to everybody who's here, if you could go on over to that thumb and click a thumbs up for me, I would appreciate that. That will help my video to be promoted from YouTube, who still hasn't, and probably, I can't even imagine, monetizing me. They haven't done that. They're not going to. There's this lady who does hair on YouTube. Remember I was telling you about the scalp thing where they scratch it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they demonetized her. So I figured if they demonetized her, I'm never going to get
Why'd they demonetize her?
She has no idea. They don't give you a reason.
That is so weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird, but this girl, I can't remember her name. It's Annalise something rather, and she's Australian, maybe British, I don't know. But she buys all these different clothes from different websites. She mostly buys them from Wish, but she buys them from like Fashion Nova and things like this, and she tries them on. And some of these things, like she even has to say, I have to cover myself so I don't get demonetized, and she still doesn't do a good job. So I don't know how she's not getting demonetized, but the scalp lady is.
I know, the scalp lady is.
I'm like, you're on YouTube practically naked, and you're not getting demonetized, but okay.
Yeah. All right. Are you ready for mine?
Yeah, sorry.
No. We do talk. We have conversations. That's
totally
fine.
Going off track here.
I have gone so far off in the weeds before that I felt like I was on like a quad out in the middle of a swamp going, I should probably get back on the road. I should
probably steer back into where I was going. Yeah, anyway, okay, so who's your guy?
Almost every podcast we end up somehow talking about necrophilia. So
oh, gross. We're gonna
it's a running thing that at some time we're gonna veer off the road into Necrophilia town, and which is not a town you want to go to after dark.
I'm sure. Nuh-uh.
Although if you're live, you're probably gonna be fine.
I mean, yes.
It's filled with mortuaries.
That's so gross. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Okay then.
Well,
I'll try to avoid any speak of necrophilia.
You'll try it, but it won't.
I know. I'm sure it'll probably pop up here somewhere.
Okay. By the way, I have a shirt on Teespring, and it says "Get them while they're cold."
Oh, that's disgusting. Oh, Mom.
Nobody's gonna know what you're talking about.
Until they listen to your podcast and they're like, "Oh, this lady is twisted."
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with a little twisted.
Goodness. Or what happens if they're walking down the road and somebody's like, "What does that mean?" And then they have to explain, "Oh, it's about necrophilia."
No. They say, "I like ice cream."
Oh, okay. So they don't have to give the real answer.
Well, duh. There's not a necrophilia club. Well, there might be.
Unless you're a necrophiliac, but I'm sure they've got a couple of them.
They meet in cemeteries.
Yeah, and they apply for jobs at the morgue and things like that.
Oh my God, Rob has a story to tell you about that. I'll tell you later. I don't want to go too far off. Okay, so here we're gonna go. Let's pull back.
Pull back. Okay.
I'm going to talk about Anthony Sowell. Sowell. Okay. It's Sowell. And it's Sowell. I think it's Sowell.
Yeah, that's Sowell.
And he was known as the Cleveland Strangler. And the reason I found him, I watched a documentary. I know.
Happened to stumble upon this serial killer.
Well, I was carrying a sign asking if anybody was.
I'm sure they'd admit to that, right? Are you a serial killer? Sure.
I don't tell anybody. So I watched a documentary about him, and he was one of a very few African American serial killers. There just aren't that many.
Why do you think that is?
White people be crazy?
I guess so. Black people are always like the first people to get the hell out of a haunted house, or when something's going down, they are the first people to go.
Somebody posted to a video of mine the other day, and they were like, "No black person. Oh, it was a demon house. No black person would live in that house." I'm like, that reminds me of
it's like,
that Eddie Murphy joke. He says, the difference between white people and black people is that when black people hear a voice say get out, they get out.
Yeah, it's like they have that sense that they're like, oh no, this is not for me.
I'm going.
But
so I don't know
like
why
me.
it is.
That was like me the day I had that experience in your house, and I was like, oh, there's a noise at the end of the house. Let's go investigate. Instead of saying, Madison, clearly something is not right here.
Right.
Let's leave.
That's right.
Yeah.
See, humans are the only animal that doesn't go by their gut instincts.
Yeah.
Like I always tell you guys, always go by your gut instinct. If a gazelle is drinking from water and they hear a branch snap, they don't sit around and go, they don't go, oh, that could be Larry from down the street. He said he was going to come around 7:00. So they get the fuck out. Sorry about that word.
Yeah.
They get out. I told you not to use that word.
I know. I got forewarned, by the way, before we even started this podcast, because I tend to have a bad potty mouth, which everybody can attest to. But Mom was like, don't say the F word every other word. And I was like,
oh, God dang, how am I going to talk?
I know. I have to substitute that word for something? It's probably better. I got a child in the house, and so.
Okay. All right. Anthony Sowell. So, here we go.
Yes. Okay.
In 1989, Anthony was charged with the attempted rape and torture of a woman who had visited him in his home. She was pregnant.
Oh, Lord.
When she tried to leave, he tied up her hands and her feet and began to strangle her. She got away and she went to the police, and he spent 15 years in prison after pleading guilty to the attempted rape charge. And he was released from prison in 2005. Then he was a registered sex offender, but it didn't matter. Now keep that in mind. He was a registered sex offender, okay?
And this was recent.
Yeah, this is recent.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So,
and so did he spent 15 years in prison? Is that what it was?
No. Well, he spent from, sometime after 89 till, let's see. Oh, yeah, he spent 15 years in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it didn't do anything. Okay.
Well, okay.
So they know how many, they think, okay, there's a certain number of women they know for sure that he's killed. But
okay.
They're looking back as far as cases that happened in the 80s. There were very similar cases to his. And he was in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
During this time and was traveled a lot. So it's kind of hard to keep up. There was he wasn't in one place really long enough for there to be an alarm going off.
Is that not the perfect thing for a serial killer, though?
Yeah. In the military, driving a truck, there's certain things that were like the Green River Killer was. They thought he was a truck driver because he was picking up the prostitutes in the truck stops. Well,
right. And I think with military, there's a sense of, I don't know, security there, that if he went to lure these women in, maybe they felt safe.
Of course. Absolutely.
He's in the Marines. He's an upstanding citizen. And of course, with him not being in any one place too long, it's easy to kill and not get caught and bounce on over.
Right. And he was married at the time.
They always are, which is so odd.
Yeah. So, there's certain people who have a trust, an automatic trust.
Right.
A doctor.
A police officer.
Depending. Yeah. Well, what. So, but in reality, you would feel as though
you're safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that makes total sense.
And police in Cleveland said that there are several cold cases where murders were committed by strangulation that they think was probably Sowell. And when he was arrested, those stopped. Oh. And a woman in California claimed that he raped her back in the 70s while he was stationed at Camp Pendleton. So Anthony Sowell had a profile on a dating site, which is called alt.com, where people enjoy, quote unquote, alternative fetishes.
Oh.
And they could communicate with each other. And according to his profile, he stated that he enjoyed dominating women. and that he called himself a master who was looking for a submissive person to train.
I mean, I guess that goes along with the choking. That would make sense.
Yeah, right? Hey, do you have your phone in your hand?
No.
Okay, that's weird. Okay. So, he wrote on this website that he was a sexual performer. Whatever. I just said that word. Who loved to be around. Who loved to be around people. That he was willing to have intercourse anytime and anywhere. And he set up his profile in 2005, and he checked it repeatedly until he got caught again. So as soon as he got released from prison, he set this profile up. Yep.
Wow.
There was no rehabilitation at all.
Right.
So
I think I can hear what you're talking about, by the way. That noise
the scratching noise?
Yeah, I think I can hear it.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, you guys. If you guys hear a scratching noise, I'm sorry. I don't know what it is.
To me, it kind of sounds like a skip.
Jeremy, is it coming from me, my end, or hers?
Okay. Well, just keep going.
Okay. So after sometime around 2005, he started seeing a girl named Lori Frazier, who was the niece of Cleveland's mayor, Frank Jackson. She moved into his house with him on Imperial Avenue. And according to reports, she moved out in 2008 after he lost his job and started smoking crack. There's a guy, that'll do it. That does it every time.
Not his. I mean, if she was the niece of a mayor, they didn't look into his criminal history.
Yeah, and he was committing murders during that time. She lived in the house while some of his earlier murders were being taken place.
Oh, goodness.
So there's a guy who owns a convenience store, but it's in a neighborhood. It's in a brick building. It's not like your CVS or something. And he said that he watched Anthony progressively go downhill from getting out of prison and looking like a healthy guy to progressively getting worse and worse and worse, and getting into crack and everything. And the women that he killed were all prostitutes and crack addicts, and this guy
was a crack addict.
Well, yeah, but this guy and the guy who owned the convenience store, he said in this film, and I think I told you about it at the time, Madison, that he watched these girls become addicted to crack, that he'd seen them grow up in the neighborhood and everything, and then they grow up and become prostitutes and then to feed their crack addiction.
Right.
And he said that he wished there was more Anthony Sowells.
Oh, my goodness. Yes.
To get rid of the quote-unquote trash. Like, in his mind, the women are the trash. The guy killing them was not the effing trash.
Like, he was doing a favor.
Yeah, the guy is picking up the prostitute where it's trash. The prostitute's the trash, and the guy killing them is doing a favor by sweeping the trash up. It's just, I wanted to reach through my computer screen and
That's what's. So, wasn't he a Muslim?
The guy in the documentary?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was gonna say to me that's just a weird turnaround. I mean, that's just a weird thing for a Muslim who, his own people get treated like they're trash, and for him to turn around and say, "Oh, well, these women are trash." I wonder if it's a cultural thing because.
You mean from somebody who's experienced
prejudice themselves?
Prejudice, yeah, that's what I thought was strange too.
I mean, you receive prejudice, and people of your religion receive prejudice on a daily basis, and you're going to sit here and call a prostitute trash, and give out that same kind of prejudice that you're receiving. To me, is odd.
Well, saying it, and saying it on the documentary, and he says, I probably shouldn't say this. If you have to start a sentence by that, if you ever have to start a sentence by sorry, but, or I probably shouldn't say this, but just stop.
Yeah, if you have
Okay.
to start something with I probably shouldn't say this, then you probably should.
You go with your gut. Go with your gut.
Yeah, then just shut up. Anyway, so.
Okay. So, let's see. Where was I now?
Oh, this
Oh, and
pharmacy.
I want to tell you about the what Anthony earned in the Marines. He earned a good conduct medal. He earned letters of appreciation, 2 letters of appreciation, meritorious mast, a sea service deployment ribbon before his discharge, and he was discharged at the rank of corporal. Right after he got what? And then right after he got released out of the Marines, he divorced his wife. So
that is something that's so weird to me too, is how serial killers can lead such different lives.
Yeah.
You have obviously your serial killer life, and then you have this very successful military life. You're married, you're an quote unquote upstanding citizen.
Yeah.
And when they question the spouses and things about that, they're like, I had no idea. Which of course you think, how do you have no idea? But they're just apparently that good at leading opposite lives. Seems like a lot of work.
So, let's see. I feel like I'm skipping around here a bit. I'm going to go on the order I put this. When the officers went to, I'm going to do some facts about him, and then I'm going to go into the women and the incidences.
Okay.
When the police arrived at Sowell's house with a search warrant, they found scattered all over his house, in his living room, everywhere, human body parts. They found a human skull stashed in a bucket in his basement. They found bodies stuffed into garbage bags. They found bodies stuffed into crawl spaces behind his walls, in his attic, parts of bodies. And then when they went through his house, they also started finding the personal belongings of his victims. He would keep their jewelry, their clothes. He kept their social security cards.
Most serial killers keep a trophy or something, but it's a social security card.
Yeah, like I don't know.
What was he planning on doing with that?
I don't know. So he had 5 women buried in his backyard. Some of the women had decomposed so badly that they could only be identified by the jewelry they found in his house, because they had last been seen wearing that jewelry.
Wow.
Some of them could be identified by dental records, but in this community, it was impoverished. They didn't really have access to a dentist, so sometimes there is no dental records.
Oh, goodness.
6 other bodies were found inside of his house that had been there for at least a year.
What?
Yeah, been there for at least a year. When he had gotten out of prison, he moved into that house, and his mother was it was on what's called Imperial Avenue. His mother was living there at the time. She was alive when he started murdering people and putting them in the house. Neighbors on Imperial Avenue were starting to notice a smell.
I was going to say, how do you get past that smell while they're decomposing?
Yeah, well, get this, because this is really weird. So they started to notice a smell, and on this block was this thing called Ray's Sausage Shop, where they made homemade sausage right there, okay? It got to be so bad that the city went into Ray's Sausage Shop, basically made them, like, tear it down and start from scratch, because they figured, like, the grease or the
meat was bad or something. Yeah,
it was like getting backed up or something, and that didn't stop the smell.
Oh gosh.
It was still there. You could smell it for a couple blocks away. The residents started going to the city and asking, are you holding your phone?
No.
The residents started going to the city and asking for the sewers to please be cleaned. And that didn't fix the smell. And when they were all out talking about it, Anthony told his neighbors that it was his mother. She stunk that bad.
What?
Yeah. His mother stunk that bad.
She stunk up so bad that people were going to the city asking the sewers to be drained.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. So obvious. What a weird thing to say in the first place. But how did he live with that smell? How do you do that?
Well, the police said that he became like, you know, if you ever gone to someplace where you're walking, you're like, blah, 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 can't stand that smell, but
And
sort of eventually you kind of get used to it. They said that he was probably just very used to it.
I cannot imagine getting used to a smell like that.
Okay, so when he was 9, he had a sister, and then his aunt died, and her children, 7 kids, I think, moved into the house with him, and his mother. His mother would beat the nieces and nephews, strip them down, and beat them, but she wouldn't beat her own kids. And by the time that Anthony was 11, he started assaulting.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, Madison, is something scraping?
Hold on. It could be my microphone rubbing up against my shirt.
Yeah.
Let me see.
I have a little thing to keep mine from touching my shirt.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's fine. Okay. Sorry, that was my husband.
I heard him say, "Are you on a podcast?"
He said, "Are you still on the podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "How much longer is it going to be?" And I said, "I don't know." And he's like, "Well, I'm going to start dinner." Yes. Go cook for me.
So,
okay, so the mom was beating the nieces and nephews, and then he started assaulting.
Yeah, at 11 years old, he started assaulting his niece on a daily basis.
11.
Yeah.
That's just...
His sister was interviewed in this documentary, and she said that from the age of 3 that he was a flat-out, scary, mean child who tried to kill her by choking her at the age of when he was 3. He tried
to choke her to death at 3?
Yeah. She said that
she could tell from early on that he was different.
Well, she said that she knew that he was violent and everything, but then he went on to, be in the Marines and be an upstanding guy,
Right.
So she thought that maybe he changed.
And he was just a violent child.
She lived like a couple blocks over from this house where he was killing everybody. And did she not go into that house and see her mother ever?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering, because I thought the mom was supposed to be living with him during this time. Did she not have a relationship with her family? Or?
She maybe didn't.
Okay.
So, like I said, most of the women that he killed were prostitutes and had a history of drug abuse. And since Sowell's arrest, many have criticized the Cleveland Police Department for not doing their job and letting Sowell slip through the cracks. Family members of Sowell's victims filed a lawsuit against the city saying some of his crimes were preventable, and I will tell you a story. Well, okay. I'll finish this, and I'm going to tell you a story. Between the release from prison and his arrest, 4 women accused Sowell of rape. 4 women escaped. 1 woman was actually caught. There's a business next to his house. And their security camera caught her falling out of the 2nd-story window, bare naked, trying to run away from him. He runs out, also bare naked,
my goodness,
drags her back into the house. But
he caught her?
Yeah, he starts to drag her back in. But the cops are called, and they get there, because she's fighting him. They get there. They take her to the hospital. Her husband is going to meet her there. He knows that she's a prostitute, but she won't accuse him of raping her because she doesn't want her husband to know.
Oh my goodness. Wait.
But it's caught on the security camera what was happening, so they could have pressed charges against him, but she wasn't wanting to press charges, okay?
Well, I was going to say, she would have to do that. So what?
Right. So
it's weird. I wonder why she didn't want her husband to.
You know
I'm
what?
sure there's a reason there, but it's none of my business. So.
Yeah, that's, I don't know. So then in 2008, a woman said that Sowell attacked her and raped her. She managed to escape and flag down a police officer, which produced an arrest warrant for Sowell on one count of rape. When the police came to his house to serve the warrant, they found 2 bodies in his living room. After visiting Sowell's home multiple times before they arrested him because he was a sex offender, just 1 hour after he attacked one of his victims, but never investigated him beyond talking, they told this woman that this was so this woman who escaped, this woman escaped. They had been like acquaintances, and she was a prostitute, and she was standing outside, and he walked by her with a thing of beer, and she said, "Hey, you want somebody to drink beer with you?" And he said, "Okay." So I'm going to tell you this woman's story. She goes into the house with him, and she mentions that it smells really bad. And
he said, "Oh, it's my mom."
He ties her up, chokes her till she almost passes out, and assaults her.
Right.
She thought she was going to die. Now, this is funny, not funny, because this woman was really quick on her thinking. He would occasionally let people go if they talked him into it somehow. And since they were acquaintances, she said to him, "Don't you think I'm ever coming back to your house to drink beer?"
Oh, so she had a sense of humor.
Yeah, she did this sense of humor thing with him.
She was witty.
Yeah, and she knew that he was going to kill her. She said she knew he was going to kill her, and she had to act like it wasn't a big deal. And he goes, "Are you going to call the cops?" She goes, "Some people like to play rough. I'm just saying, I didn't come here for that. And you said we were going to drink beer, and I'm never coming to your house to drink beer again." So it disarmed him. And she said, "Now, can I use the bathroom to get cleaned up?" So she went to go to the bathroom, where she was really wanting to go, have a minute for a nervous breakdown. And when she walked past a bedroom, she saw a dead woman's corpse.
Oh.
And she went to the bathroom, she locked the door, and she said she bawled for just a second, cleaned herself up, walked back out, and said, "All right, that's it. I'm going home." And he let her go.
I wonder though, is because if she had that very nonchalant attitude about it, catch me drinking beer here again. Or, she had, some people like to play rough. If she didn't seem scared.
Yes.
That maybe it wasn't, I don't want to say attractive.
Wasn't a thrill for him.
Yeah, it didn't attract him to kill her. He was like, "Oh, well, this isn't any fun."
Right.
So he just was like, "Okay, whatever, let her go."
Yeah, but it gets worse. Okay?
Oh.
She goes to the police. She tells the police what happened. And do you know what they told her?
You're a prostitute. We don't believe you.
They told her it was a he said, she said situation.
Oh, yep.
This man is a registered sex offender. He has gone to prison for attempted rape. And it's a he said, she said situation. So
if you're a convicted rapist, it is never a he said, she said anymore.
The thing about it is, in this current environment that we're in this country, when they say you need to report it right away, Why do you take so long to report it? Well,
look what happens when you do report it. It's a he said, she said.
It's a he said, she said situation. This woman was beat to hell and back, violently raped 2 different ways, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yikes.
And her face was all bruised, and it was a he said, she said situation. And here's the thing, though.
For somebody who spent 15 years in prison, it's going to be a he said, she said.
Yeah, that was just lazy.
All that was they thought, well, you're a prostitute, so we're not going to listen to you.
But the thing is that prostitutes get beaten every day. I mean, that's a fact of their profession. Right. If a prostitute who also happens to be high goes to the police station high on crack as a prostitute and says, I've been raped, there's a good freaking chance she's been raped. Because she doesn't want to get arrested. She doesn't want to go anywhere near a police station.
Well, I was going to say, if you're a prostitute and you willingly walk into a police station, you better have a damn good reason, because like you said, they don't want to be arrested.
Yeah, they could have arrested her right there. So it's so frustrating, and it's really sad because all of these women had children. They all had parents and mothers who loved them, and even when they did go get help, it didn't work. So
what eventually caused him to get caught?
Okay, so another woman was attacked and raped. They went to his house. They found the dead bodies. He wasn't there. They kept looking for more dead bodies. They finally found him and they arrested him.
And what year was this? When was he arrested?
2009.
Holy cow, Mom.
Yeah.
Wow.
Most of his victims were killed by being strangled. Others were gagged. They had ligature marks on their bodies. He reported that he had at least 3 more victims that he let live. There's suspected many, many other victims. When they arrested him, he had crack cocaine on him. So when he was arrested, he was 50 years old, and he had been living. Yeah, he had been living at that place for 4 years. He was held on $5 million bond.
Oh.
His trial was supposed to start in June of 2010, but it was repeatedly delayed, and it didn't start until June 6th of 2011. He was charged with aggravated murder and 70 counts of assault, if you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
Kidnapping, tampering with evidence, abuse of a corpse.
Oh, God dang.
Told you we were going to go on that road.
Yeah.
At first, he pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. And then he later changed his plea to just simply not guilty.
Huh.
He was convicted on all but 2 counts against him. So he was convicted of 68 counts against him, including the murders of 11 women whose body was found in his house and in his yard. The jurors recommended the death penalty for him. The judge upheld the jury's recommendation, and since September 4th, 2011, he has resided on death row in Chillicothe Correctional Institute.
Chillicothe.
I don't know. Texas?
I was going to say, we have a Chillicothe, Texas, and it is not too far from here.
Yeah, I know. So I don't know if that's where he is or not. It doesn't say, but I want to list his victims' names. Okay.
Okay.
So there was Crystal, Dozier, Tashana Culver, LaShonda Long, Michelle Mason, Tanya Carmichael, Nancy Cobbs, Imelda Hunter, Talacia Fortson, Janice Webb, Kim Yvette Smith, and Diane Turner, because I think it's important that we recognize his victims' names as much as we just went through his name over and over again.
Right.
Maya says, hey, she goes to Chillicothe for work.
Yeah, it's really not too far. My niece Renee Lee, the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. She lives in Chillicothe.
Oh, really?
So, her mother was there, and so they.
Everybody who gets the death penalty in Texas will eventually go to Huntsville because that's where they do it.
So he's been on death row for almost 9
7 years. 7 years. 2011.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so it'll be 8 years next year. Why so long? Why do they... I mean, I understand that they go through the process of appeals and things, but are there not a limit? Or is there not a limit on appeals? Or why does it take so long to kill death row inmates?
Oh, yeah, appeals. And then they sit there for a while. I watched a documentary. I watch documentaries on weird things, and I go down death row documentaries down that rabbit hole. And there are actually
why even people, just waste?
There are actually people who are in general population prisons who will kill somebody or two to get sent to death row because they get their own room. They don't have to be afraid to sleep at night. They are only out for an hour every day, and they're highly watched. Some of them just get that little dog run to walk on. They get better food.
What?
Yeah, they get better food, and they say they'd rather do that than be in general population of prison. Which
I'm sorry, but I don't even think you should get the luxury of being secure, watched like that. Go out in general population. Let them kill you.
I know. I'm
just saying, if you commit crimes like this guy did, you go into general population.
Right. So that was that's a very interesting case that most people probably have not heard of.
Probably not. Interesting.
Yeah. So, and Diabolical Witness says if he had different means of disposal, he'd still probably be doing it. And yeah.
Well, I'm sure. I'm sure.
And if he had not let people go,
see,
even though they didn't believe them, and it's a he said, she said.
That's ultimately what got him caught, though, was somebody reported a rape. And if you're going to be a serial killer,
they found
the rule number one is you don't let people go. I mean, that's just.
Do you have that written down?
No, but you think that would be like basic, serial killer 101.
Well, the thing is that his family lived in this neighborhood, like his mom lived there and everything. Rule number one should also be don't kill people in your neighborhood.
I think rule number one should be don't kill people, but obviously don't do it so close to home, especially where your mother lives. And
Diabolical Witness. Brian said, never leave a witness. Yeah.
Never. I mean, no matter how funny they are, they got to go.
Yeah, you got to go.
Once you commit to, you just gotta follow through.
Commit. That's right.
Commit.
Follow through is important.
Mama didn't raise no quitter. So, I'm just saying, at that point, it's about your survival. Do you want to get caught? No.
Yeah, that's right. But thank God. Thank God.
I hope this doesn't pop up anywhere later in life that it can be used against me.
Well, I think it's not even going to matter.
Probably not.
You might even be able to be a justice. Okay.
You're probably right. I could stand and shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue, and
I'd vote for you.
still vote for me. So anyway, we're not going to be going down that road.
I'd vote for you because I'd be afraid you'd shoot me next if I didn't, though.
Fear. I mean, that's the only really
Power. Fear is power.
Yeah, fear is power, and that's how you become a dictator.
Is somebody are you using internet on your phone?
I am. Wait, am I using like my data or am I connected to my Wi-Fi?
Are you connected to your Wi-Fi?
Yeah. Why? What's up?
Okay, that's why it's skipping a little bit.
Oh, well, I can hear you. Anyway, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you skip occasionally too. That's okay.
Yeah, and you're skipping, so I don't know if it might be on my end. Anyway, so we're gonna move on to my second person, if that's okay.
Yes, please do.
Okay, so my second lesser known serial killer is Gary Heidnik. Gary Heidnik liked his victims specifically were Black women. He, for whatever reason, loved to kidnap Black women. So his first victim in 1986, her name was Sandra Lindsley, and she happened to be mildly mentally disabled. And apparently, from what I gathered on his story, is they were friends. So she went to her corner drugstore in Philadelphia. And Mom, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're just scratchy.
What does that mean?
It sounds like scratchy.
Okay,
like,
let me pull my microphone up a little bit so it's not against my shirt. Has it gotten any better?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, well then I'll hold it. So, she went to her local drugstore in Philadelphia, apparently just to go pick up some whatever, and she didn't come home. So her mother was concerned, and she went all weekend looking for her daughter. She contacted one of Sandra's close friends. His name was Cyril Brown. Brown didn't know where Sandra was, but suggested that she check the home of Gary Heidnik.
And where is this?
This is in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Let me see. It says Northern Philadelphia, but it doesn't say specifically. That's okay. So he suggested that she go check this Gary Heidnik, a white man in his early 40s, and apparently was a friend of them both. And Sandra had been to this man's house on multiple occasions. So the mother went to his home, which was in a very, very rough neighborhood. They called it the OK Corral because of all the gunfights they had. His house was extremely run down. Apparently, it was only worth $3,000, so it was already just a very sketchy sketch. And she went to his house multiple times, but nobody answered the door. But while she was there knocking on the door, her daughter was in the house. So later on, the neighbors start to complain of a smell. And apparently they said it was, stinking up the whole block.
Was it Anthony's grandma?
They probably live right next door.
Right.
Neighbors. So they went, and when they asked him about the smell, he said it was his dinner, but turned out he was actually cooking a human. Of course, the police were like, "Oh, whatever, it's your dinner, no big deal." So when they finally arrested him and went to his home and everything, they found multiple women that he had chained.
Your microphone is sounding really good right now. Whatever you're doing, this is good. Yeah.
Oh, okay. He had captured multiple women and kept them down in his basement, and he would feed them dog food sandwiches. But it kind of just, it really depended, because on his mood, he would feed them things like takeout chicken. He would feed them peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And on days, I guess, where he was just not feeling it, he would give them dog food sandwiches. And later on in the story, one of the women, she dies. And I'll explain that here in a second. So she was actually his second victim. Sandra was. His first victim, her name was Josefina Rivera. She was a prostitute. She was out the night before Thanksgiving. Her and her boyfriend, his name was Vincent Nelson, apparently had an argument, so she decided she was going to go to work. And he pulled up in a fancy, nice car, dressed to the nines, and he had his Rolex, and he was actually a fairly wealthy man. He had a money market account at Merrill Lynch with more than $500,000. He paid for all the cars that he had in cash. So he was a well-to-do guy. I don't know why he was in such a slum, but he was. So anyway, she figured, this guy's wealthy. He'll spend some money on me. So she followed him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when they got to his home, and also keep in mind, this guy had a genius IQ. This guy was smart. So he brought Josefina to his house. He paid her what they agreed on. He assaulted her and then dragged her down to the basement, where he cuffed her hands, secured her to a chain that was linked to a metal bar, and ran the length of the ceiling. So he kept her down there, went to bed. 3 days later, he brought Sandra Lindley. At that point, the assaulting happened. Multiple kinds. So not only would he assault them, but he would make them assault each other. And like I said, on some days, he was generous and gave them oatmeal or Pop-Tarts or, like I said, fried chicken. And other days, he would give them dog food sandwiches until they were so hungry that eventually they ate them. So on, it says it's 3 days before Christmas in 1986, he captured another victim. Her name was Lisa Thomas, and she was only 19 years old. She was just walking down the street. Apparently she was just going to be walking to her girlfriend's house. And he picked her up, took her out for burgers and French fries, and said, "Do you want to come home with me?" So she came home, and later, of course, he brought her down to his basement and did the same thing with her. Fourth victim, her name was Deborah Dudley, and his fifth victim, her name was Jacqueline. She was only 18 years old. She was the only one that happened to not be a prostitute. So after he had most of these women in here for months and months, he had come up with a form of punishment for he referred to them as his slaves, for his slaves that didn't obey him. And he dug a hole in the cellar floor and covered it with a plywood panel. And they're thinking this is kind of where the inspiration for Silence of the Lambs came in, where he held him in a well.
There's several serial killers that I think went into the making of Silence of the Lambs.
Yes.
Rob talked about somebody last week that part of Silence of the Lambs was based on, and also Ed Gein, he made that skin suit.
Yes.
And he made the skin suit, he made lamps, all those weird things.
Yeah, he was doing all sorts of stuff. He made candles and weird things. I mean, but Ed Gein was just an inspiration for a lot.
A lot of movies.
Do you know he was the
Chainsaw
inspiration
Massacre.
for Psycho? Yeah, and in Psycho.
Okay. Well, do you know that Ed Gein was kept out at the sanitarium, the old sanitarium here, or was there
I did know
where you
that.
are?
Yeah. Yeah. They said that he was also the inspiration for Norman Bates because Ed Gein apparently
Obsessed with
was
his mother.
Extremely obsessed, and that's one of the reasons he was making the bodysuits of women.
Yeah.
Was to dress like his mom.
Yes, that's right.
And when she died, he only would use like the kitchen and the living room, and he left the other parts of the house, which were her bedroom and things like that, completely untouched.
Well, do you know that Ed Gein and his mother were thought to have had a relationship?
That would not surprise me one bit.
Yeah.
Well, he killed his own brother.
Yeah, he did. He said, and he blamed it on a fire. He started a fire.
Yeah.
Killed him in the fire.
Yeah, and then of course when the police showed up, he led him exactly to where his brother was. Yeah. Like, that's not suspicious at all.
Yeah, but they think that his mother knew that he had and was okay with it.
I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them having a more advanced relationship than mother and son, but I don't know.
Yeah, they put the function and dysfunction.
For real. But when she, I guess earlier, quite a few years before she died, she had a massive stroke and had almost passed away, and so Ed was the only one taking care of her, and maybe she liked that attention. Maybe she liked being treated like she was just the greatest thing to have ever walked this earth. I don't know. Maybe it was an ego thing for her, but I don't know. So back to Heidnik. Where was I? Along with keeping them down there in the basement and things, he would blast rock music in his apartment or in his home 24 hours a day to keep them from sleeping. And also, if anybody were to scream, there would be no way to hear them.
Wait, didn't the guy in Silence of the Lambs also play music? But wasn't his symphony? Am I getting that wrong?
Hannibal Lecter. He played classical.
Oh yeah.
Music, yeah, but yeah.
Okay.
So they think that they said despite all of the assaulting that happened in his basement, none of the women ended up pregnant. And they think that the ultimate goal was that he was doing some sort of baby farm.
Oh my gosh.
But he was obviously unable to achieve his goal. But luckily, like I said, nobody ever ended up pregnant. So on February 7th, 1987, Sarah Lindsley, his second victim, passed away. She had a fever and apparently had told him she was not feeling very well, and he didn't care.
Why was he gonna?
Yeah, he was like, whatever. So he tried to force feed her and came to the sudden realization that she had passed. So he told the other girls that she had choked on a piece of bread, and that's why she died. But that he was in a extreme hurry to get rid of the body. So he carried it out of the basement, up into the kitchen, and the next thing the girls had heard was a power tool. Gosh. I mean, it's probably, self-explanatory that he had dismembered her body, packed parts of her in the freezer, put parts of her in a food processor, which I'm assuming is what he fed the other girls, which it specifically says in here that there was no way to know if the girls knew that they were eating her, which, first of all, if they knew, I don't want to know. And if they didn't know, don't tell them. I mean, just.
Yeah, they don't need to know.
No, that nobody needs to be telling them that.
Nope.
Apparently the parts that he couldn't eat, like the head, her feet, hands, rib cage, her bones. He tried to cook, which is what the neighbors were complaining about, that smell.
Ooh.
So, yeah, not only did he feed Sandra to the women in the basement, but he also fed her to his dogs.
Did he tell them that this was dog food, do you think? Brian, Diabolical Witness wants to know, could that have been the dog food?
I don't know. It says here in what I was reading that he was already feeding them dog food, and then he just kind of mixed her in.
Oh.
Now, well, yeah. So it says here that it's not known whether they knew that they were eating human flesh or not, which I'm sure it would have started to taste different. And whether they questioned about it, I'm not sure. And whether he ever told them, I'm not sure. But one of his other victims, Deborah Dudley, says she had a little bit of an attitude, and so she was defiant. And he had realized one day that she needed a special lesson. So he took her up to his kitchen, opened his freezer, and showed her all of the frozen body parts, and told her that if she didn't straighten up, that she was going to end up the same way. But she did not care. She fought and she fought, and she was defiant. And so one day he had come up with this plan that he put her in his hole that he had dug, and he partially filled it with water and handcuffed her hands behind her back. And he plugged a wire.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. He plugged a wire into a wall outlet and would touch her bare hands. And they said that he basically tortured her however often as he wanted, or however not often as he wanted, until finally it eventually killed her.
Oh my God. How did they know this happened?
I think some of the girls lived. Some of the girls did live. One escaped. Oh, and I'll get to this. One escaped, and two others also escaped. So he electrocuted her to death it doesn't say how long, like over what span, but it just says that she did die. Instead of cutting up her body, he dumped her in New Jersey Park, or in a New Jersey park. So I don't know why that changed, but it says that after she died, apparently he started softening up. He provided the women with blankets, better food, pillows, a television. I don't know what that was supposed to do for these women, but
almost like a hotel, but completely different.
Yeah, like a luxury vacation, but not.
What's that song? What is that song? What's the hotel you check into but you can't check out? Come on, you guys.
Oh, is it Hotel California?
Hotel California.
Yeah, that's... Ugh. I mean, of course it's not... It was in the middle of winter, so I'm sure they appreciated the blankets, but really, a TV, they probably don't care. So, on his last victim, her name was Agnes Adams. He captured her in 1987, which she had prostituted for him before. Looks like on 2 prior occasions, and so she was trusting, and she was extra trusting because he had taken one of his other victims with him, Josephina, who was his first victim. He took her to help capture her. So apparently Josephina knew her name was, they called her Vicky. They had known each other because they had worked together at the same strip joint. Well, when they were in the car, Josephina had asked Heidnik if she could go see her children and her boyfriend. And he said that she could, but if she didn't come back, then he was going to kill all the other women. So, first mistake was he let her go.
This is therefore breaking rule number 1.
Rule number 1. No escapees. And this was ultimately his downfall. So he let her go see her boyfriend and her kids. And when which is weird to me, it never mentions the boyfriend wondering where she was because she had been gone for months. And,
right.
Like, so I don't know what happened here. So she immediately ran to go visit her boyfriend, Vincent Nelson, and she let her story out, and obviously her boyfriend was skeptical. But
was he though?
Well,
what do you mean obviously? Because I mean,
well, I don't know. I mean,
she had to have weighed about 75 pounds by now.
Well, yeah, they did say that they lost a lot of weight, but anyway, it says he was skeptical. So she convinced him and everything, and he said, well, take me to where this guy is at, and I'm going to go beat him up. On the way to the gas station, he came to his senses and thought, maybe I should call the police. So he called the police, and they met Heidnik at the gas station. And
he was going to go beat him up?
Uh-huh. Yeah, he said... That
strikes me as so odd.
Yeah, he's like, go show me where this guy is so I can go beat him up. Like, first of all, he has starved your girlfriend to death, fed her humans, which she didn't know, maybe, and kept her for months and months and repeatedly assaulted her. And the best you're going to do is go beat him up.
Well, that's kind of sweet.
I guess.
In a strange way. He was going to, I mean, it was way far beyond beating the guy up. I mean, at least kill him, for one thing.
Well, I was like, at least the defensive nature was there.
At least the protective nature kicked in, and he was like, I'm going to just go tear this guy a new butt.
But I just explained to you all this, and the best you came up with is I'm just going to go knock him a few times. So, obviously... On the way there, he was doubting.
I don't know. I think you should maybe dial 911.
Well,
get there, take care of the guy, and then go ahead and press the other one, and then be like,
oops. So on their way to beat Gary up, he questions obviously the solidity of his plan and says, maybe I should call the police. So
at least he had, he thought about it for a minute.
At least there was some sense going on there.
Yeah.
No, you're fine. I'll come out of it. So she leads him to the gas station, and the police are there, and they arrest him. And after they arrest him, they go through his home, and obviously they find the women. They take him back to the home. They get the two women. They find Agnes, who was electrocuted to death. They find her. And then after that, they go through his home, and that's where they find Sandra's body in the freezer. And they find her body parts still on the stove. Like,
oh.
Yeah. In pans, sitting in fatty remains. And they end up finding a couple more of her other body parts. But of course, and what always strikes me is odd. Well, it's very interesting actually. They always go into these stories and tell their backstory and how they were raised and what kind of environment they grew up in and what their parents were like, and it always just kind of strikes the question of, and I know you've had a podcast on this before, but nature versus nurture, where you have some of these serial killers and you read their backstory and you're like, wow, they had a completely normal childhood, and then you get to some others and you're like, yeah, I'd not turn out very okay if I were these people as well. But you also have
but would you have been a serial killer?
Well, that's the thing. And you also have people who have been through similar situations of abuse that these serial killers have and haven't turned out to be serial killers.
Right.
So are you born with that, and then your childhood abuse just kind of amplifies it? or is it something you inherit over time with the abuse? People take abuse differently. People react in different ways. So, but
Right.
to what I, for him to capture these women, specifically Black women, and use them as a baby farm.
Well, I think that he goes above and beyond, like, quote unquote, regular serial killers.
Well, I think that not only, obviously is he not just a regular serial killer, but he has that torture-y.
He wants to feel empowered. There's something in him that wants to feel like super powerful.
Well, and it was explaining in his story that his mother abused him fairly badly. And so the psyche for some serial killers is that when they're a child, as they're being abused, they kind of slip into this thing that is described as the third mind, and they suppress these feelings. And one of these feelings is lack of control. And so as an adult, they inflict those situations on other people so they can feel in control and make up for what they were lacking as a child. And so also part of their lack of empathy is, since nobody cared for them when they were a child, they shut their emotions off and inflict those things on other people. But there's just, with the BTK killer and what is the psychological state there when you torture somebody? Is it different?
This is bad timing, but can I take a break for just a second and say something?
Yeah.
Hey, Victor. Thank you so much. Victor, on Monday, it was Thanksgiving in Canada. Happy Thanksgiving. And Victor donated quite a bit of money to my Patreon on Monday as a gift to me for Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's so nice.
So I want to say thank you, Victor. I said at the beginning of the podcast that I was going to wait until you came on so I could tell you thank you. That means a lot. And like I said, all that money is going to go towards me being able to send giveaway shirts and do the different tiers will receive a free shirt. Victor's going to get a free shirt, and that money goes towards that kind of thing. So because I'll buy a shirt and then give it away or send it to Patreon members. So if you too would like to get a free shirt, Patreon, there's your button, Maya. Anyway.
Well, that's awesome. That is great.
It was very, very nice. If you guys,
and
Victor
happy late Thanksgiving.
Yes, and Victor has a YouTube channel. If you guys want to check it out, please do. Oh, so I'm sorry, Madison.
No, you're fine. But anyway, like I was saying, just what the psyche is there when you torture somebody. There's just has to be just a complete void of emotions there. Or any sort of sympathy or it.
No, these people do that because they get a kick out of it. So it's the exact opposite of sympathy.
Yeah, it's just very odd because it's one thing to because with the Son of Sam, when he was going around just shooting people in their cars.
Yeah.
He would just go up and shoot people and then leave.
Yeah.
And so it's a different kind of just like a random killing or just something quick.
Yeah.
Having these women in his basement for months.
Yeah, I think there's a spectrum. And
yeah.
Or
to gain and then use their skin, home decor, and costumes.
Home decor.
Oh, that's a lovely lamp you have there.
Would you ever go into the Geen home decor shop? I wouldn't.
No. And it's weird. And a lot of these people, what is so odd is, like I said earlier, they live a completely normal life. How do you have that separation? I am anxious, so I would be too anxious to function in a normal life that I was going to be caught
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. I couldn't do that. This is completely off topic again, but I lived in Spokane, Washington during a time where they had what they called the South Hill Rapist.
Yikes.
It's a very, very famous case. If anybody ever wants to look it up, it's a very, very famous case. There's a book written about it. But so it was called the South Hill Rapist, and he would rape women who were on this jogging trail. One of them, we had a news reporter who did the weather, I think, and her name was Sunshine Shelley, and she was one of those people who are light, they have that something about them that is light.
Right.
Well, Sunshine Shelley was assaulted by the South Hill Rapist, and which was a something that when hey, you get to know your local news people and you see them at events and you feel like you know them kind of, and when they're pregnant, when they're having babies, they talk about their kids. It's it's a
right. They're normal
then,
people.
Yeah, and Spokane isn't a huge town. I mean, it's a big city, but not like back. It's still small enough where these
small
people,
enough to know people.
Yeah. So when that happened, I mean, I was scared to death. His mother was batshit crazy. She tried to have the judge in the case and the prosecuting attorney murdered.
Wow.
But
did he ever kill these victims, or did he just assault them?
No. He was just assaulting them, and he lived with a woman, a girlfriend.
Oh, yikes.
And he would go out for these jogs in the morning, assault somebody, come back home, take a shower, and she said she had no clue.
See, that's what is so odd to me is how do you live with somebody? How are you married to somebody for 20 plus years and there's just never anything? There's just never anything. Yeah. I feel like I spend so much time with my husband that, if he were away for like any certain amount of time, my alarms would be going off. But also, Cody works in the oil field for 2 weeks.
He says he does.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, does he really?
Yeah, but this guy would go out for a jog every single day. He was good looking.
They normally are.
He's supposed to have been let out of prison many years ago, but they still haven't let him out because they think he's still a danger to society. He was good looking. He was charming. His family was very, very wealthy. It was just a weird situation. Monsters don't look like monsters, people.
No, they don't.
And we always told
you. Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was extremely good looking. That's how he picked out his victims.
Yeah, Ted Bundy actually looked very, very, very similar to this guy. That's why we always told you growing up, like, who's a bad guy? What's a bad guy look like? And we would say to you, bad guys they're nice.
Normal.
They're normal. They're going to be, if somebody comes to you and says, hey, can you help me find my dog? Do you remember that guy who lived in our neighborhood who would drive a van, like stereotypical child predator? He would drive a van and he would pull over and have the kids pet his
ferret. And it was a little ferret.
Yeah.
Like he literally carried a ferret around. Or I had somebody come up to me in that neighborhood that we lived in. And the guy, I vividly remember, he drove a truck. And it was me and maybe Marissa. And we were walking down the road one day, and he asked us to help him find his dog.
No. What?
Yeah. And
how did I not know this?
I am not quite sure. Turns out, well, yeah. And so, but I remember you had saying, because it was after this specific ferret incident, which is so freaking weird. But you said they'll do things like that. They'll get you close to their car and they'll say, can you do this? One of the incidents you specifically said was, will you help me find my dog?
Yes.
And shortly after, we had that incident. And it was either me and Marissa or like me and Naomi or somebody. But they asked us to get in the car and help them find their dog. And we were like,
holy shit.
Yeah, we were like, no.
God dang. These things I find out later. I would have gotten my car and looked for this guy.
I don't know why. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know why I wouldn't have told you.
Well, it just got just distracted probably. Okay, so let's move on. I got two more.
Okay.
So I'll try not to keep you on too late.
Oh, you're good. It's 8:30. Oh my gosh.
Time flies.
Yeah, for real.
Okay, so this one, his name is Robert Hansen, and he's known as the Butcher Baker.
Oh, this sounds bad. Oh, God. Sorry.
Okay,
Sorry.
so Robert Hansen was born in Iowa in 1939. He's the son of a Danish immigrant, and he followed in his father's footsteps as a baker.
Okay.
And
first of all, I'm feeling real bad because you sound like you have like a spreadsheet, PowerPoint of what you researched, and I am like reading out of my book.
That's okay.
Oh my gosh.
That is your spreadsheet.
I guess, but dang. You're like, so he was born here. This is his family history. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, crap. And here I am. So, yeah. I'll be
every one of us.
Time.
No, you're doing a fantastic job. Every one of us does it a different way. And that's the beauty of it. We all bring our own personalities and everything to it. So
okay, well,
you're doing a really good job, Madison.
Well, thanks.
Rob sent me a message and said he's worried about his job now. So.
Oh well, hey, I'm just saying, I have nothing to do on Wednesday nights. Is this Rob's time slot?
No, I couldn't give away anybody's time slot. They were going to fight me for it. So.
Well, I'm coming after you, Rob and Jory. Just be careful. Just saying.
Just saying. So I gave you your own time slot so that I didn't have to fight anybody.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're like big babies. They're like, you're not giving my time slot away.
Well, I am. Especially Jory. I'm way better than Jory. You should give me his spot.
Oh.
Just saying. just throw that out there, Jory.
Jory teases you all the time on here, so you
Rob
get to do it back.
So much better than Jory because I'm not going to sit here and insult Rob like Jory does.
He doesn't insult Rob.
Oh yeah, he did. Remember?
About the flat Earth thing?
Yeah. What did he call him?
I'm not going to talk about it right now.
Yeah, just remember that.
Are you trying to get me in trouble?
No,
Rob,
I'm trying
don't
to get
listen
Jory in
to her.
trouble. I'm trying to get Jory in trouble. I'm saying that I am much better than he is.
But you have to see. You don't listen to our podcast, you guys. She doesn't listen to our podcasts.
Sorry.
But,
I tons of stuff going on lately.
Remember Rob and Jory was teasing you about the flat Earth thing?
Yeah, he called you an idiot.
He did. No, he didn't call Rob a name.
Oh no, it was something like a moron, wasn't it?
Oh my God! Can you stop now? Rob's gonna quit.
No, I'm trying.
Jory's gonna kill you.
Jory to quit.
Oh, Rob goes yes.
He's like, don't remind me.
Oh my God. No, he did not say that. You're right, Brian. He was talking about people. I don't want to talk about it.
He was talking about flat earthers in general. I'm just trying to make Jory look bad.
You're taking a swing at Jory. You guys?
Yeah.
I told you she was the mean one, didn't I?
Yeah. Me? Wait, no. No.
Oh, no. Now Maya's chiming in. He called other flat earthers a moron. Oh, my God, you guys. Jory's not even here. Jory left to go grocery shopping. I can't wait till he listens to this.
Yeah, wait till he comes back. I'm going to get some scathing phone calls tomorrow.
Oh, my gosh. You guys. This is... Yes, that's right, Brian. Not exactly like that.
I know that he was talking about a general people. It wasn't directed towards Rob. Jory loves Rob. I've heard nothing but good things.
That's right.
I'm just picking on Jory.
Would you like Rob to jump in real fast and introduce himself to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Jeremy, can we add Rob for a second? All right, get ready, Rob. And then I got to get my two people in. One of them is a child who is 11.
Ooh, this is going to be good. And I'm ready for my spaghetti.
Rob goes, I'm getting a flight to Texas right now.
Is he coming to beat me up?
No, Jory, I think.
Oh, yeah. I'll watch. I'll arrange it. I can make it happen.
You'll be a manager.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, man.
How's
Yes,
it
I
going?
can hear you.
So what was said about me?
You know,
No, nothing about you specifically, I promise. I had heard about this flat earthers conversation where Jory had mentioned flat earthers being of lesser intelligence or something, and then you had chimed in and said, well, I'm a flat earther. And instantly Jory was like, my stomach sank.
Well, we were supposed to do a podcast about it, but jury bottled out.
yeah.
But Jory,
we were.
We were going to do a podcast, weren't we? Well, then it's just all disappeared.
Yeah, it did. You're right. I forgot about that, Rob.
You sound very British. That is very British.
Isn't it?
Wow.
Now he's going to call you an idiot because I told him that his
No, I
flat.
sound very American, remember?
Yeah, but I told him that his flat looked stereotypically British, and he said that's the most idiotic thing I've ever heard in my life.
His what sounds stereotypically British?
No, his flat looks where he lives looks.
Oh, his flat, like a studio.
Like his apartment.
Yeah. What do you
Yeah.
mean it looks stereotypically British?
Well, he lives in this place
that
called
look like?
Cornwall, and it's beautiful, and it looks exactly like the British countryside, and it's surrounded by the ocean, and it's like you would see somebody riding a bike and going ding, ding, ding on the bell.
Oh, yeah. Typically British. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
He's like, whatever. Okay.
He's used to me.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that, I don't know, what does Texas typically look like? Yeehaw and cows and...
Yeah.
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 And Diabolical Witness says he said nothing but only a generalization, and that it wasn't stated well. That's right.
No, I know. That is absolutely true. I know how the conversation went. I am just trying to poke fun.
She's just trying to get Jory in trouble because
Jory picks on me all the time.
Yes, he does.
It's
yes,
okay.
he does.
I have thick skin. I can roll with the punches.
Yes, you do. So what do you
You're
think,
doing
Rob?
really
How
well.
do you think Madison's doing?
She's doing really, really well.
Yay! Thank you.
I can't believe it. Is it the first podcast you've ever done?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it.
Well, thank
It
you.
doesn't sound like it.
Thanks.
She's smart.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, come on.
And your mum always does too much research.
Well,
That's why-
she's over here just like, so this is his name, this is his blood type, this is where he grew up, and I'm like, God dang, okay. So I am very underprepared.
Madison,
I can't, what?
we did a podcast last week about Hollywood and killers in the films in Hollywood. And your mum actually did a body count of all the people that had died in certain films.
Oh my
And
goodness.
how do you compete with that?
You did a body. So in Halloween, the body count was 32.
Yeah, at Halloween the body count was 111.
Holy jeez, Mom.
Yeah, I still remember it. It's one of those things now. If I'm ever playing Trivial Pursuit, I'll get the answer.
Well, you want to know something funny? Is you know that local arcade, that the Deep End that we have here, that's over out by? Okay, well they're having a Halloween trivia.
Oh shit! I gotta go.
And I don't know if it's like about the history of Halloween or if it's about actual horror movies, but I almost went.
Well, Madison, on the 26th of October, Jory and I are going to be doing a Halloween history with Rob, except for Rob's going to be our designated driver. Because Jory and I are going to be drinking some spirits.
You're going to be drinking what?
Spirits.
Are you guys doing like a drunk history thing?
I'm not allowed to say that, but yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you doing an, is it inebriated history?
Inebriated series history, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that'll be interesting. What day of the week is that?
It's a Friday.
Oh, hey.
Maybe you can join us.
Possibly.
Rob can make sure we all get home well, safe and sound.
Yeah.
Yep.
The 26th?
Yes.
Oh, Cody won't be home. Ooh.
Ooh. I'll meet you at your house.
What was the podcast on?
The history of Halloween. That's what it's going to start off being about, but who knows what it's going to be about by the end. Necrophilia.
Oh, gross.
I'm sure.
If that's the case, I'll just listen.
Oh, Madison.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Like you don't know anything about it, please.
About
Tracy.
necrophilia?
Yes, Rob.
Oh, he does sound like that.
I know.
What?
Yes, Rob. I told you we always go Tracy.
I don't sound like that. Oh.
Well, I can't do it. I can't do it.
No, I mean,
Rob says I make him sound like he's a chimney sweep.
what does that mean? What's it?
Like I do a very poor.
You do a very poor British accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tracy,
which I probably could.
What is wrong with that?
No, nothing's wrong. It's just nice the way you say it. You're just like Tracy. It sounds fancy. It makes me sound posh.
Okay.
Okay.
You are, yeah?
Yeah, I'm so posh.
So high maintenance.
Yeah.
Is that what posh means in America?
Well, yeah,
rich.
like rich, high maintenance,
Okay.
elegant. What does posh mean there?
Me?
Oh, please.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
He's posh.
Yeah.
Like what? What is that? What is
Rich, fancy.
Yeah, that. I'm the complete opposite to that. But anyway.
Oh. Well,
what I was going to try and do is bring your podcast back to where it's supposed to be.
Oh, thank you.
And just make sure everybody understands that I am not actually a lesser known serial killer. And you've got me on the show. Just...
So you say.
Just wanted to clear that up.
That's what you want us to think.
Yeah.
All right, Rob.
Poor guy. Sounds so irritated.
he gets irritated with me.
I'm
He's so British.
He put up with you for so long.
He actually enjoys it.
Oh. Okay.
He does. Don't let him.
All right. Well, let's get on to this Butcher Baker dude.
All right. Thank you for joining us, Rob.
No
Thanks,
problem.
Rob.
Nice one. See you later.
Bye.
Good night, love.
Bye. You're a nutter.
Oh, thanks.
Did he just say you're a nutso?
He said I'm a nutter.
Oh.
He's always calling me names.
You're a nutso.
Okay.
Okay, so the Butcher Baker.
The Butcher Baker and the Candlestick Maker. So he was very skinny and shy, and he had a pretty bad stutter as a child. And he also had severe acne that left him permanently scarred. So he was shunned by the attractive girls at school, and he grew up hating them and had fantasies of, killing them.
Don't we all?
Yeah. What's abnormal about that? So, so he was described as through childhood and teenagers years and stuff. He was described as being a quiet loner, and he had an unhealthy relationship with his domineering father. He started practicing hunting, specifically archery, and he found his calling in archery.
What's this guy's name?
His name is Robert Hansen.
Okay.
In 1957, Robert Hansen joined the United States Army, and he only served 1 year before being discharged. Then he worked as an assistant drill instructor at a police academy in Pocahontas, Iowa. I've never heard of that.
Oh.
And
okay. Anyway,
he met a younger woman there, and he married her in 1960. In 1960, he was arrested for burning down the Pocahontas County Board of Education school bus garage. And he served 20 months of a 3-year prison sentence for that, during which time his wife filed for divorce. I wonder why.
Yeah.
Over the next few years, he was in jail several times in Alaska, but only for petty theft. He got a second wife in 1967. No, I lied. In 1963, he got a second wife, and they lived in Anchorage. And he was a father of 2. He was very well liked. All of his neighbors loved him. They said he was awesome, and he set several local hunting records in Alaska, which is a pretty good thing to do because I'm pretty sure that everybody's pretty good at hunting in Alaska.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So on June 13th of 1983, a 17-year-old, she was a prostitute.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
Can you imagine prostituting at 17? My God.
No, it's heartbreaking.
Besides the point.
So she escaped from, what's his first name? Robert. Robert. She escaped from Robert. And what happened was he had offered her $200 to perform an act on him. Oh. When she got in the car, he pulled a gun on her. He drove her to his house in Muldoon, Alaska. He held her captive there. He tortured and assaulted her. Oh. He chained her by the neck to a post in the house's basement.
Whoa.
And then he lay down and took a nap because all that was exhausting.
I'm sure he was just exhausted.
Yeah. When he woke up, he put her in his car and he took her to Merrill Field Airport, where he told her that he was going to take her out, this is quote, take her out to his cabin, which was a shack in the Nick River area of Matanuska Valley, which is accessible only by boat or plane. So Cindy crouched in the back seat of his car. Her wrists were handcuffed. She'd been beaten badly. She was trying to come up with a plan to escape. So while Robert was busy loading the airplane's cockpit, he had his back turned to the car. She crawled out of the back seat, opened the driver's side door, and ran towards a busy street, which is called 6th Avenue.
Why didn't she just hop in the... but her handcuffs were behind her back, right?
Yeah.
Then why did she just
I don't...
But her hands were handcuffed behind her back, so she can't.
Yeah. So she told police that she had taken one of her shoes off and left it tucked underneath the back seat of his car, so as proof that she'd been in his car.
Oh, wow.
Which was really smart, right? So Robert Hansen panicked and he chased her, but she got onto the street and she flagged down a truck driver. The truck driver, whose name was also Robert, was alarmed by her appearance, which was she was beaten. She had her clothes on all goofy and backwards. She was handcuffed. He drove her to an inn, and she ran out and she pleaded with the clerk to call her boyfriend, who worked at a local motel. Then the truck driver left. So she told the police all of this happened. Okay. So the police went and questioned him. He denied it. He said that she was trying to cause trouble because he would not pay her extortion demands. What? And although this is going to really piss you right off. Although he had several run-ins with the police for petty theft, his meek demeanor and his quote, and I quote this, are you ready? Humble occupation as a baker, along with an alibi from some sicko friend. It kept him from being considered a suspect, and the case went cold.
Because he was a baker?
Can I put this in here again? You're supposed to tell somebody right away. She was handcuffed, she was beaten, she was raped 2 different kinds of ways, or 3 actually. There's plenty of evidence on this girl, plenty of DNA. And this guy was a baker, therefore he could not be a rapist.
And he was meek.
He was meek.
Oh, wow.
Are you freaking kidding me? These stories that we're telling, mine particularly, could have been stopped before other people were attacked if somebody had used a goddamn brain cell. And there, I'm off my soapbox for the day. You're welcome.
Okay.
It just makes me mad. Like, she's got all the proof. She's beaten. He's meek. He's a baker. I mean,
they
come
caught
on.
him in the act, and well, he can't be. He can't be.
Yeah, she was blackmailing him for extortion money. Is that how she got tied up? I mean, handcuffed, beaten, and
you're a baker.
Assaulted?
What kind of money is she going to blackmail you for?
Like, for bread?
Like, yeah, for real, for endless lies of Danishes, like.
Yes, it's so incredibly stupid. Okay, so
that's ridiculous.
Detective Glenn Floth of the Alaskan State Troopers had been part of a team investigating the discovery of several bodies in and around Anchorage. So the first body was found by construction workers near I'm butchering these, and I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Eklutna Road. The body was called Eklutna Annie by investigators because she has never been identified. In Alaska, she's never been identified.
And there's not a really high population in Alaska.
No, it's so strange. So sad. Anyway, later that year, they found the body of Joanne Messinga, who was discovered in a gravel pit near Seward. And in 1982, they found the remains of a 23-year-old Sherry Morrow in a shallow grave near the Nick River. And so now there was 3 bodies, and it looked like they were all killed by the same person. He would literally hunt these women.
Yeah.
He hunted them like they were animals.
Archery.
Yes. Right. Yeah. He did archery and he shot them. So this detective contacted the FBI and they worked with a special agent and requested a criminal psychological profile. So, and this is amazing. These people sure know how to do their work because based on the 3 recovered bodies, the special agent thought that the killer would be an experienced hunter with low self-esteem. He'd have a history of being rejected by women and would feel compelled to keep souvenirs of his murders, such as jewelry. He also suggested that the assailant probably had, are you ready? A stutter.
How did they narrow that down?
I don't know. So they go, hey, he's probably a stutter. And do you remember that guy that girl was accused of assaulting her? Remember he had a stutter?
Oh, somebody done screwed up.
Yeah. So using this profile, this detective went, oh, whoops. So he investigated other possible suspects, and then he finally came back to Hansen, who also happened to not only fit the profile to a T, but he owned a plane, which is the only way to get to where these bodies were found. Hello? So, supported by Cindy's story, now her testimony is given some weight.
Oh.
And the profile, this guy, they secured a search warrant for his home, his cars, his airplane. And on October 27th, 1983, investigators uncovered jewelry belonging to the missing women, as well as an array of firearms hidden away in his attic. They also found an aviation map with X marks on it, which
Is
was
that
hidden.
where he dumped the bodies?
It was hidden behind his headboard. His headboard, where he slept every night.
That's disgusting.
When confronted with the evidence found in his home, he denied it as long as he could, but eventually began to blame the women for what he did to them.
Shock.
I know. And then through blaming them, he thought that would justify his motives for killing them, hunting them, making them run, and killing them. He eventually confessed to each of the killings as the evidence was presented to him. He admitted to an attack of a spree of killing Alaskan women starting in 1971. And his earliest victims were young women, usually between the ages of 16 and 19, and they were not prostitutes. His known victims, I'm going to run these off real fast, okay?
Okay.
Lisa Frutel, Malay Larson, Sue Luna, Tammy Peterson, Angela Federin, Teresa Watson, DeLynn Frey. She was discovered by a pilot who was testing his new tires on a sandbar on that river, and she was buried in the sandbar. Dumb.
Oh, Lord.
Paula Golding, Andrea Fish Altieri, Sherry Morrow, Eglutna Annie, the body that was never been identified.
Right.
Horseshoe Harriet was also never identified. Roxanne Eastland, Beth Van Zatten, Megan Emmerich, who was 17. He denied killing these last three, and Mary Till. He denied killing these last three, but they were X's on his map, and they found their bodies there.
I mean, if you're going to confess,
I know, I don't get it.
Just do all of it.
Of these 17 women, he was formally charged with the murder of 4.
What?
Yeah. Well, sometimes they keep murders back in case he was to be acquitted, so that they can charge him with other murders. If they charge you with all the same murders at the same time, and you can never be charged again.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I guess they saved enough where they could charge him multiple times if need be.
Right.
He was also charged and convicted with the kidnapping and rape of Cindy Paulson. I said it. Assault of Cindy Paulson. All the ballistic test results came back and matched bullets they had found at crime scenes. And so he entered into a plea bargain. He pleaded guilty to the 4 homicides the police had evidence for, and provided details about his other victims in return for, this is what is so frustrating, he was in charge even then. In return for this, he wanted to serve his sentence in a federal prison.
Excuse me?
Yeah, because you get treated better.
Right.
He wanted no publicity in the press at all. Another condition of the plea bargain was that he participate in deciphering the markings on his aviation map and locate his victim's body and take him out there. He confirmed the police theory of how the women were abducted, adding sometimes he would let a potential victim go if she convinced him that she wouldn't report him to the police, and apparently they didn't. Or he lied and he killed him. He indicated that he began killing in the early 1970s, in the early 1700s.
Oh,
what?
Like, dang.
He's a vampire.
Right?
He showed investigators 17 grave sites in and around south central Alaska, 12 of which were already known to investigators. There were still marks on his map, but he refused to tell them who the bodies were.
Did they cooperate with the conditions?
Yes, they did.
In this plea bargain? Wow.
Yes, they did. The remains of 12, and there's a probable 21 victims, were exhumed by the police and returned to their families. He was sentenced by a jury to 461 years plus life in prison.
So whether he was found or pleaded guilty or not, they would have convicted him. So why did they have to go by his plea bargain?
Well, I think that was for the families of the other victims so that he could tell them where they were and who they were to help them bring their daughters home. I think that has to have been the motive.
Yeah, I see that.
But
he didn't get the death penalty?
Well, then maybe I can't imagine it, but is it maybe Alaska doesn't have the death penalty?
Well, you said he got 460 some odd years plus life.
Yeah, so he was going to die in prison,
right.
Without the possibility of parole. He was first imprisoned at the United States Penitentiary in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. In 1988, he was returned to Alaska and briefly incarcerated at the Lemon Creek Correctional Center in Juneau. He was then taken to Spring Creek Correctional Center in Seward until May 2014, when he was transported to the Anchorage Correctional Complex for health reasons. He died at the age of 75 at the Alaska Regional Hospital in Anchorage on August 21st, 2014, due to undisclosed lingering health conditions, and I hope those were continuous stabbings.
I hope so.
A slow death by 1,000 stabbings in places that wouldn't be
suckish,
fatal.
Yeah.
His legs,
Wow.
Can you believe that? It's so sick to think that he had that much control that he could say, well, I want to serve time here.
Right.
I don't want you to put it in the news. There's 21 women, they think at least 21 women who he's killed, tortured, assaulted. And that is why he's one of the lesser known serial killers, my friends, because the deal was up until 2014, they couldn't put it in the news.
That is shitty. That's just.
Yeah. And what are you worried about? What are you worried about it in the news for? Was he worried that he'd go to prison and other inmates would know what he did? Probably, because he'd be pretty low on the totem pole, second to last.
It's for his own safety.
Yeah.
And what strikes me because is when you brought that up, I remembered I had read about him in my book, and they specifically said that he would let his victims go, and they would start to run, and he would hunt them down.
He would hunt them. He made it into a game.
Yeah, he let them go, and they would start running, and he would hunt them down with his arrow, with his bow and arrow.
His bow and arrow.
He would make them think that they were at some point able to escape, and he would kill them.
He would shoot them with his bow and arrow, and then he would kill them off with his with a gun if he needed to. This sick
fuck. Last few moments running in terror.
Well, okay. See, here's the difference between me and other people. If my daughter had been killed that way, I have two of them. I think at least one. If my daughter had been killed that way and there was not going to be any media, I would become very good pen pals with several people at that prison.
Oh, absolutely. I'd make it now.
Yeah. Yeah, he wouldn't be allowed to get away without the population of the prison knowing who
he was.
Who he was.
Yep.
So.
Wow.
Anyway, so that's one. And by the way, Diabolical Witness says to Rob, your accent is really awesome. Don't change a thing. Brian, please understand that nobody is really giving Rob a hard time. We love Rob. Rob knows. Rob teases me. Rob and I talk every day. Through the phone. So Rob and I give each other a hard time back and forth, and he knows that I'm not serious. So please, guys, don't think that. Don't let Rob put on an act. I know you, Rob.
Jeez.
We love you, Rob. He goes, I know, it's just a joke. Yes, you know. I mean, he teases me about how I talk, although his children say he's starting to talk like me. So my work here is done.
We're rubbing off.
Okay, so here's my last one, okay? And
Okay.
this one is especially creepy as fuck.
Okay.
This one is from Rob's neck of the woods.
Uh-oh.
Well, she's from the UK. Her name is Mary Bell.
Aw, sounds
I
so
know,
sweet
isn't
and
it
innocent.
cute? I know, doesn't it though? Well, guess what? She was crazy. Mary Bell's mother, her name was Betty Bell.
Betty
Actually,
Bell.
her last name was McCricket, I think, which is still kind of cute. She was a prostitute, and Mary Bell was born to her mother when Betty was 17 years old. She has no idea who her biological father is. She tried to kill Mary several times. She accidentally felled her from a window once. And she accidentally gave her sleeping pills instead because she thought they were candy. And yeah, as mothers will do, you know.
Right.
Sometimes you accidentally toss your child out of a window. It's an accident. And then to make them feel better, you're like, here, have this fistful of candy. I know it tastes nasty. Just wash it down with some milk.
Good Lord.
You probably don't remember those times, Madison.
Probably not. Yeah.
That was that concussion. She was reported to, her mother was repeatedly sexually, oh my God. She was repeatedly assaulted. I know, I'm breaking all the rules.
I know.
And her mother would force her daughter from the age of 4 to be assaulted by men.
Oh.
Here we go. On the 25th of May in 1968, Mary Bell was 10.
Okay.
And you're scratching, Madison.
Am I better?
Yeah. It was the day before her 11th birthday, so what would normal 11-year-olds do? Well, she strangled a 4-year-old child. His name was Martin Brown. She took him to a derelict house, so I suppose that means it was empty, broken down. She committed this crime alone. Between that time and a second killing, she had a friend whose name was Norma Joyce Bell, and they're not related, who was age 13. They broke in and vandalized a nursery, leaving notes, and claimed responsibility for the killing. The police dismissed that incident as a prank. On July 31st, in 1968, the two girls took part in another killing, a strangulation of a 3-year-old boy, Brian Howe. Police reports concluded that Mary Bell later came back to his body and carved an M into his stomach. She also used a pair of scissors to cut off his hair, scratch his legs, and mutilate his private parts.
What a
She's 11 years old.
What?
So, Mary Bell was convicted of manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. The jury, taking their lead from her diagnosis by a court-appointed psychiatrist who described her as displaying classic symptoms of psychopathy,
Wow.
The judge, Justice Cusack, described her as dangerous and said she posed a very grave risk to other children. She was sentenced to be detained at Her Majesty's pleasure, which means an infinite amount of time until they decide she can get out. So it's not a 30-year sentence, not a 2-year sentence.
It's basically when we want to let you go.
Yeah, it's when we feel that you can be let go.
Yikes.
She was initially sent to the Red Bank Secure Unit in Newton, the Williams, and I got Rob. I'm going to say this right. Lancashire. I usually say Shire, and Rob tells me that they're not in the Lord of the Rings books.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Lancashire. I will.
Lancashire. Yes, don't say Shire.
Mind.
Yes. Which,
Okay.
by the way, Rob, is where one of those boys was held. The two boys, the 10-year-olds that took that 2-year-old and killed him. She was held there too. After her conviction, Belle was the focus of a great deal of attention from the British press and also from a particular German magazine. And her mother sold stories about her to the press. And she would give the reporters writings that she said had been written by her daughter, but had actually been written by her to make money.
What a sick person.
Yeah, she, Mary Bell, made headlines in September of 1977 because she escaped from Moore Court, which was an open prison where she was being held since her transfer from a young offenders institution. They were transferring her to an adult prison.
Oh.
But she'd been there for a year for some reason. And do you know what her penalty was for this? Are you ready?
For escaping?
Yeah, escaping.
What?
She lost her privileges for 28 days.
For 28 whole days.
Yeah, 27 would have been doable, but that 28th day was a freaking nightmare.
Wow.
That is a punishment.
The whole month of February, she got.
Yes, she lost her prison privileges. So take that.
Oh, wow.
Take that, you psycho.
If that's all I got, I'd be escaping prison all day, every day.
Oh, well, guess what? It gets so much better because in the UK, they have a special thing there, don't they, Rob? Where if you committed a violent, seriously disgusting crime as a child, when you get released and you're an adult, they give you a whole new identity.
No.
And your parents, too.
Like witness protection?
Yeah. They relocate you. They give your parents jobs. They give you a job. They give you a whole new identity, a whole new background, so nobody knows who you are. Yes, at 23 years old in 1980, Belle was released after having served 12 years. 12 years. And
for
she was
a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old?
Yes, and carving her initial into one of them and mutilating him.
And castrating him.
Yeah, she was granted anonymity, including a new name, allowing her to start a new life.
No, you don't get that privilege.
4 years later, she had a baby girl.
No!
She was born on the 25th of May in 1984. Her daughter...
Procreated?
Yeah. Well, she had a new name. Nobody knew who she was.
Oh, my God.
Her daughter did not know of her mother's past until their location was discovered by reporters in 1998.
Oh.
Her and her mother had to leave their house with bed sheets over their heads.
Oh.
I know. Her daughter, her anonymity was originally protected only until she reached the age of 18. But Mary Bell went to court and asked that it please let her daughter and her anonymity last longer. So they did. They extended her daughters for life.
What?
And now any order permanently protecting the identity of a convict in Britain is consequently called the Mary Bell Order.
That is disgusting.
Yeah.
That I cannot. So you basically come out of the system a whole new person.
Yeah.
Literally, you have a new name, you have a new background, you have a new everything.
Yep.
And they just kind of treat you like it never happened?
Yep. You get to go on with your life. The two boys that I was just talking to Rob about, Rob goes, "Joke, we're a joke in the UK." It's unbelievable to me. Like I'm not
If
making
you
fun of
commit
where
and
you
act
live,
like
obviously,
that, but you don't get the opportunity to live a new life.
Yeah, you have certainly not earned it.
Freaking insane.
And she escaped, so she wasn't being rehabilitated.
No. What the hell?
Yeah. So the two boys that I was talking about, Rob, with, this is a very famous case. I can't think of their names. Rob might know it off the top of his head. But they went to a mall. They took a 2-year-old boy out. They killed him.
Oh.
But when they, on purpose, when they got out of juvenile detention, basically, them and their families were given all new names, relocated, given jobs and everything. And one of them broke his probation. Is that right, Rob? Bolger, yeah. One of them broke his probation, and they found child pornography in his house, so he's in jail.
Well, they shouldn't have never not been detained.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Is like when she was 10 or 11 and these things happened and they incarcerated her.
James Bolger was the victim. That's right, Rob. That's right. The little boy. Yeah.
I mean, they could have rehabilitated her and sent her back out with her original identity. But instead, they just hold you and then let you out with a whole new everything. That solves nothing. That is a slap on the wrist.
Rob just said that the guy who killed that little boy, when he got out, he got another new identity.
Another new identity?
Yeah.
What?
But you know what? The victim's family doesn't get that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how you rehabilitate a 10-year-old. I think that is the definition of bad seed right there. Well, and obviously she came from a fucked up house.
And I understand that, but if their system is we're gonna hold you, and then we're gonna let you out, at least do any sort of rehabilitating. I don't care what it is. And then if you're still gonna let her out with her original name.
Well, yeah, let her walk through the public. I don't disagree with you about that at all. I don't know what you do to rehabilitate that. I
don't know, but at least
there's
got
to be some serious counseling, obviously.
Exactly.
Some antipsychotic medication. They had 12 years with her to do something. Because at 10 years old, if that's your reaction, is you're gonna go do that to little boys. Norway is the maximum sentence for any crime, not 20 years, not more than 20 years, no matter what it was.
What?
No matter what it was?
Who are you talking to?
Oh, Brian, Diabolical Witness. He's the one who I told you did the ghost hunt with Troy last week.
Oh, yeah, the domes.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. Anyway, so I wanted to say that one for last because it's one of the craziest things I've ever heard about in my life.
Yeah, that is something.
And the families of those two boys, they don't
get new identities. They have to live with that.
They get nothing. Nothing. Not that anything could, I mean,
erase that. I know what you're saying, but they don't get the help that the actual killers got.
Yeah. Like maybe they don't want to live there anymore, and they don't want to have their last name anymore, and they do want to be given another job because they're forever going to be known as their son was the one that she carved them into, and blah 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 blah. Maybe they would like something like that. I don't know. Yeah. I really can't even imagine where to start. But right. So there you go, guys. Do you have any questions about our lesser-known serial killers? And have you? I don't know if "enjoyed" is the right word. But did you find this topic? Did you find this topic interesting? Because I found it interesting. There's certain ones that we know, everybody knows, Ted Bundy and, Ed Gein and the clown guy, blah, 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 blah.
John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah, the clown guy. Who, by the way, was a normal guy who owned his own business, successful businessman.
Yeah, he was a totally normal person.
Till he wasn't.
But so was Ted Bundy. I mean, he worked on a suicide hotline.
He worked on a suicide hotline. He was a doctor. No, he was a lawyer, and then he went back to medical school to be a doctor.
Yeah.
Brilliant guy. Did not have a bad childhood.
Very involved in politics.
That's right. Involved in his community, normal guy, and wasn't. They said that with him that he was an upbeat, normal kid until he was 3 and he had surgery and he woke up literally like a psychopath.
Yeah, they say that sometimes. There was one guy that I was reading about, and he was a serial killer, and he swears to God, because he would go around assaulting women in their apartments all over the town that he lived in. I can't think of it off the top of my head. And just assaulting and killing them. And he said that he got in a motorcycle accident in his 30s and woke up and was like, I had the urge to assault and kill people. Oh. Yeah.
That's so crazy. Wear your helmets, people.
For real.
Rob says that it was really good. You and me and first class.
Yay. Thanks for listening to the whole thing. I mean, it's been a while. How long have we been doing this?
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. My goodness.
It flies by, doesn't it? Did you like it?
It really does. Yeah.
I appreciate you coming, because when she first got the book and said she was interested, I said, would you be willing to do a podcast with me? And that was 2 or more 3 months ago.
Oh, easy.
And just so you know that, let's see, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 1, 2, 3. I'm counting on my fingers. Yes, it's 3:30 in the morning where Rob and Mad Meerkat are at right now. So,
oh my goodness, you guys, that is dedication.
Yes, so that really is. You guys, we really, really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much
coming and listening. And I thank Madison for agreeing to come and do a podcast with us.
Of course, I'll have to do this again.
I would love it if you would do it again.
Yeah. It's a lot
of fun.
I think so too.
And the thing is it really does become just a conversation between the two of us. And also Rob says Madison is so polite.
Oh, thank you.
I taught her that, Rob.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. So I'm going to do some business right now. Guys, ready? If you are listening to this on my channel after the podcast is over and you are not subscribed, but you would like to be, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That is how I am suggested on YouTube to other watchers, people looking up topics like this. If you would like to be notified when my content goes live and when we have a live podcast, go ahead and click that bell. Please share any of my videos that you would like to. That gets my videos out there. Like I said, I am not monetized. 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago, I asked again to be monetized. It's not happening. So if you feel in the bottom of your heart that you would like to support my channel, I have a Patreon. And if you guys feel at all the itch to do that, moderator Maya will put down the link to my Patreon, and it will be I would be immensely grateful for that. And all that is going to go towards merchandise so that we can do giveaways and that we can give shirts to the people on the tiers of my Patreon. So that's where that goes. This coming Friday, 2 days from now, I have another podcast that has Jory in it. And Jory and I are going to be talking about not true. Famous hauntings, ghosts, famous ghost stories. So they're going to be lore, like Jory, what was one of the famous ghost stories we talked about? He's telling them right now that your politeness is a facade and you're deeply evil and can breathe fire. So,
where did he say this?
He's saying it in the chat room right now.
I see.
Did
he hear what I said about him?
No, he went and he went grocery shopping, but they filled him in when he got back. Anyway, famous ghost stories like the hitchhiker, the lady in white, those types of things.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking about doing the Scrooge. Because those were 3 famous ghosts.
Oh, goodness.
Get myself into a Christmas spirit.
I mean, it's never too early for Christmas.
Jory's getting a bad rap here tonight. Oh, he's not.
Who's
He's already had one. Brian.
Jory's had one since December 31st, 1984. Sorry.
He knows I love him. I got distracted. So back here Friday. That will be at 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, 2 o'clock UK. Thank you, everybody. Stop it. Sorry, I was fighting Miss Snake. Did I tell you about that? Did I tell you about that, Madison?
Yes.
Yeah, Rob kind of fight with a snake.
Like a legit animal snake?
No, a legit. He has a constrictor.
Oh yeah. I remember you telling me.
Yeah, she has an alien on her spots. One of her spots looks like an alien face. It's awesome.
The snakes and awesome don't go in the same sentence.
Well, she is pretty. You know,
what's wrong
for
with
a
you?
snake. She'd make a really nice pair of boots. I'm saying.
Oh yeah, that was too far.
I'm just saying.
Oh, sorry you had to hear that, Rob.
Too far.
Anyway,
there will be videos up every day for the rest of the month, of course. And I am so glad that you guys are coming in and watching these videos, and I hope you're enjoying it. Oh, Rob goes, grrr. Good night, Mad Meerkat. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, go get your sleep. My goodness.
Yeah. And Rob and I have pages on Facebook. If Maya will put those down there, it's Exit Light and Paranormal and Supernatural World. Rob does a great job of keeping those up. Lots of creepy, scary, horror-filled goodness for you guys. And I think that is it. Thank you, Madison. Thank you, producer Jeremy. Thank you, moderator Maya.
Thanks for having me on. I had a blast.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rob. It's groups. Yes, I said groups, not pages. I'm glad you did, Madison. I'm so glad because I have been we talk about you a lot on podcasts. And I have really been hyping up that you were going to be a special guest during the 31 days of Halloween. And it was going to be a treat for everybody.
Good.
So,
well, I hope
I didn't disappoint. Well, you didn't disappoint me. You did a great job. I'm very proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
all right. Well, I'll let you go. And
we will say good night, everyone.
Good night.